No energy. I'm drained. I got to go home. I'm sick. Right? That's the stock market right now, sugar high. You ever noticed now they've got gasoline, they don't even know where to put it. They got so much of it. But prices are going up. It's not supply and demand, it's regulated. It's government regulation. If they're going up, 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 I'll tell you why they're going up. Who was just over there talking to all those Arabs? One Mr. Obama. Isn't it strange how these guys show up in a certain geographical area and then things happen? Remember back there in the days of Nikita Khrushchev with the Soviet Union, and we will bury you, and he was always ranting. And well, anyway, so David Rockefeller goes over there on vacation for 2 weeks to the Kremlin. #1 capitalist in the world goes to the Kremlin for vacation. They announced that he's taking a vacation in the Kremlin. Talk about thesis and antithesis and opposites. Well, he did. He was gone for 2 weeks. He came back home. And all of a sudden, as soon as he gets home, Khrushchev's out. Anybody remember when Khrushchev was ousted? Anybody? Come on. How old am I? See, I've got a problem. My problem is I remember everything. I can't help it. I always did. Just not everything, but details and dates and history and all this stuff. It's always been like Velcro for me. It just sticks, and sometimes I wish it wouldn't. But Khrushchev was suddenly out. What happened? Was it a coincidence? Or did the real boss show up at the outpost and fire the branch manager? Who was running the show there? It's never the guy that you see. It's the guy behind the curtain, sitting in the big chair with a cigar. He's running the show. You don't see him. All this GM thing, and they never talk about the real, who was really involved here and who's still coming out on top. The DuPont family. There are over 1,000 millionaire DuPonts. That's why a lot of people thought on the big GM main office building there, all those D's on the side of the building, the letter D, they thought that was for DuPont. Actually, the founder of the company was Will Durant. That's why they had the D's on there. Will Durant built that company up, but you know what? He died in the streets, penniless. Because the bankers took him over. You know, you can always borrow your way to prosperity, right? Isn't that what they tell you? They even send you cards in the mail and say, go and spend! You run up a big bill and find out, oh, this doesn't work so good when the bill comes. And they add all this interest on. If you're a little bit late, then they start slapping you around like a red-headed stepchild, right? Huh? They do! They are meaner than snakes. Well, I'll tell you, I'm looking for a better place than what we've got right now. Because everything is failing. Everything is crumbling. But now Obama's going to fix the medical industry. Now that he got back, raised the price of fuel after visiting with the Arabs who produce the oil, the OPEC nations, and over there with Chavez, did you ever notice how he's got that big toothy smile for dictators? Other people, if he's talking to Sarkozy or if he's talking to Gordon Brown or somebody, he's just got his normal expression, which isn't very good either. But when he gets around a dictator, big smile, ear to ear. He has an affinity with them. So everything is failing on purpose. And you know, people are killing themselves. They're jumping out of buildings. They're offing themselves right and left. They've lost everything. There's some people who had money. You know, when I left the state, I used to work for the state. When I left them, I took my retirement out. They said, don't do that. It's foolish. Don't take it out. I said, I'm going to be debt-free. I've always wanted to be debt-free. I took my retirement out. I cashed in my life insurance. I paid off every debt that I had. I had nothing. I didn't owe anybody a nickel, and I had no money. And I said, Lord, now I'm starting all over again with no debt, and I'm not going to run up any debt. If I don't have money, I'm not going to buy anything. I was down to zero. We made it. Praise the Lord. The church has no debt. I have no debt. Last Trumpet Ministries has no debt. None, not a penny. We don't owe anybody anything. Praise the Lord. I've had it with those vampires. You know, God did take care of it. I didn't know what I was going to do. Was I concerned? Yeah, I was institutionalized. I had a job I could never lose. They said I'd be the last one to ever go. I had other job offers coming from all directions, from New Haven, Connecticut to various lock companies wanted me, and security companies, and all kinds of offers going to pay me big money and all that. And I said, well, how am I going to take care of the church then? So I let it all go by. I don't want that. I've got to preach the gospel. That's what God called me to do. Otherwise, I'm wasting my time. And sure, the devil would come in. Look at that. Now, you could be there. You could be making $150,000 a year working for some of these companies, have it made, and you're going to stay. You got nothing. You got a big flat goose egg zero. You got no money at all. Okay. I got a roof. I got people who love me. I got friends. Got enemies. Count your assets. Remember the equation, A equals L plus P. Assets plus liabilities equals proprietorship. You got to factor in everything in the equation. I remember that from when I was working on my degree for business administration. I had these accounting classes. You got to factor in everything. It's all right. It'll come out. It'll balance. Otherwise, you go back and make sure it does. But praise the Lord. To be able to seek a better land, a better country. All of this today, what makes me tick? I want to go home. You know, I remember a story, it really touched me. True story that happened a number of years ago. There was a family in California, southern part of California somewhere. I think it was down near Los Angeles. And this man and his wife and their little son and their little dog went on a vacation trip 600 miles north across into Oregon. And they got there, and after a little while, suddenly they noticed the little dog was missing. And they looked everywhere. And the whole vacation actually was pretty much ruined because they spent the whole vacation looking for their little dog. They even stayed 3 extra days looking for him. Of course, the little boy was heartbroken. He was crying his eyes out. And when they finally went back home, they said, we've got to go back. It was like a death in the family, you know. They just couldn't find the little dog. And the boy just was unconsolable. He just cried all the way home. And they got back home, and several weeks went by. And there's so much remorse there. And all of a sudden, one day, they looked outside, and there were some little bloody paw prints. And the cement, they followed him, and there was their little dog. He was okay. He actually had worn down his feet from all the walking. They took him to the vet, and he's okay. They thought it was such a miracle because that little dog wanted to go home. And he walked 600 miles through California because he wanted to go home. Through the cities, through the countryside, all the way back, and found his way back without a compass, without anybody telling him how to do it. He wanted to go home, and he made it. His little feet were practically worn off, but he got there. If a little dog can have that kind of determination to want to go home, then how much determination should you and I have in wanting to go home? That's why I'm not walking the same direction the world's walking. And I don't want what they've got. If I have to walk my feet off, I'm going home.